everyone. I see more people are coming in. It's about 2 p.m., so I'm going to start the session slowly. We have about 370 people sign up, so hopefully there are more of folks going to join us. My name is Cleo. I'm from the Office of School Performance, and I will be delivering today's Insight session, which is getting the most out of your grades 3 to 8 state tests with Insight. I also have my coworker Salma Sosa. She is supporting this training session in chat to either put useful links, screenshots for you, or answer any questions you might have. Again, I can talk about some overall background about Insight. Meanwhile, I do encourage you to use this time to log in Insight so that you can try or follow along with me later on in this presentation using your New York City Public School credential to log in into the Insight platform. We have pasted the Insight URL in the chat, so you could click on that and log into it. If you have any issue accessing it, you can put in the chat, also give us your username. So either we'll try to troubleshoot with you during the session, or we will follow up afterwards. As mentioned, this training session is about Insight, meanwhile about our 3 to 8 state test data. So the goals and objectives about today's session is really helping you all to build awareness of the data and tools that are available in Insight around 3 to 8 ELA, math, and science tests. Help you to explore 3 to 8 state test outcome data for students and schools, and try to introduce ways you could leverage Insight's tools to interpret outcome data and inform future decision making. Just want to show the URL again. If you haven't been able to log in, please take some time. I'm going to leave this slide a little bit longer on the screen. Also pasted it again in the chat. What is Insight? I think we asked all of you several questions when you try to register this session. Many of you mentioned this is your first time either joining an Insight training session or heard about Insight or use Insight. So want to give everyone a little bit background about Insight. It is a web-based tool produced internally by New York City Public School to allow our users, different type of users, to access timely and actionable data in order to help you better understand your practices and students. So Insight displays data about students who are currently enrolled in your school. What does that mean? If you have students who recently got discharged, you will not see them in Insight because they are no longer active at your school. Or if you taught a student and then they graduated from the grades you are teaching, you will no longer see them because they are not technically active in your classroom. Insight's data is, I would say, very timely or lively. We refresh our data every single morning, which means for daily type of data, for example, attendance. If you log into see attendance data in Insight, you're really looking at attendance data as of last night because those data got refreshed earlier today in the morning. If we put it in the math ELA science 3 to 8 state test context, it means in about 2 weeks, when the due instructional report data for the math ELA science exam that happened earlier last month trickled into our ATS system, the same day it will show up in Insight. Similar in August-ish, September, based on when the state returns the state test data to us, the same day the data shows up in ATS, it will show up in Insight because we follow a very similar data refresh schedule. Who have access or what level of access to Insight? Different type of user will have different type of accessing Insight. If you are a teacher, you will have access to all the students you currently teach. That means if you have student, again, discharged or you taught last year, you're probably not going to see them in your current version of Insight. It's only the current active student you teach that in your classroom have an active teacher-student linkage in STAR's classroom system. If you are an administrator, you're a principal, AP, guidance counselor, data specialist, etc., you will have access to all the students in your school, including all the students in your grade or not the grade you support. Overall, everyone in the school, as long as they are active students, you will be able to access their data. If you are a field support staff like superintendent from superintendent's office or a district office, you are a central staff from a certain program office, you will have access of the schools you support based on your role in the New York City Public School Galaxy system. So if you are a district user, you're supposed to see all the schools you support in your district. If you are a central user, after we grant your access, you should be able to access all the schools citywide Insight support. So that's a little bit of background about who have access to Insight and what Insight could do, which student we include, and how often we refresh our data. Again, here's a URL. If you haven't been able to, or you haven't tried, you just joined me, please feel free, or actually encourage you to log into the Insight platform yourself so you can follow along. This is the Insight homepage. So before I really jump into all the features today, since many of you are going to be new, I want to say you are more than welcome. Just follow me on the deck. We will email you the deck, so you will have all the screenshots, deck notes I have on the slides. You don't need to take notes. I have a slide at the end of this deck which linked all the resources you could use, including a YouTube channel link, a user guide, etc. So everything's linked. We will send it to you. You might notice that this session is being recorded, so we will record this training, we will edit it, and then later on upload it to our YouTube channel, so you will have access to it if you ever want to either share it with your coworkers or refresh your memory. We have a lot of features in Insight. For today's session purpose, I will be focusing on 3 of them: the grades 3 to 8 state test feature, the downloader, and the customer group creator. So I'll go through them with you. I build in the session sometimes for you to explore on your own. I have Q&A time for me to answer questions you might have. If by end of the session you have questions or thoughts or any ideas you want to share or you want to ask me, more than happy to answer them as well. So all I want to say is if it's your first time seeing this page, that's totally fine. Take your time. You could also, if you're already successfully logging into Insight, you are more than welcome to try with me along the presentation. So here is the landing page. Insight has 5 main categories about its features: dashboard, school climate, assessments, courses and pathways, and tools. You will see your school's DBM on the right upper corner. If you are a teacher or if you are a school user, which means a principal AP, you should be able to see your school's name or DBN showing up here. For the slide purpose, it's blurred out for now. The DBN part, if you're a school user, you will see your DBN and school name here, which for this presentation purpose confidentiality, we blurred it out. If you are a district user, superintendent office user, or central user, you will be seeing a drop down allow you to pick a particular school and DBN you want to focus on. You might see more or less features based on your role when you hover over different categories. And the other thing I want to mention, since many of you, it's the first time coming to the Insight, in every single Insight feature, you will see a link. It says, watch our Insight overview tutorial, or when we go to this grade 3 to 8 state test, we have a tutorial linked for that particular feature. Every single feature has a short 10 minutes-ish YouTube video, help you share with you how you interpret the data, how you're navigating the page. So if you want to learn more about certain feature or certain page on Insight, I encourage you to click on that video and you can quickly learn more about what you could do with those information. So if you are in Insight, you can follow me to go to the assessments category, click on the grades 3 to 8 state test feature. This is going to be the first feature I'm going through with you. After you click on that, this will be the page you see. Again, we have a tutorial video linked here for you to learn more about the feature as well as a written tips document. To start, you will pick a subject from the subject dropdown. Depends on the grade you are teaching. You probably see ELA, math, maybe science as well. And then you will select a grade/year, which exam you particularly want to look at. For my example, I'm picking ELA. You can certainly pick math or science on your end, and I'm choosing grade 6, 2025. It has a parenthesis last year. This means I'm looking at, because 2025 6th grade ELA happened last year in 2025. So what does that mean? It means I'm actually looking at my current 7th grader students, their performance result of last year's 6th grade ELA exam, because this year's exam data hasn't coming out yet. Actually, some of the data will be available in the feature in about 2 weeks. So if you're coming back to this feature in 2 weeks, you should see the grade 6 or grade 7 2026 option line up. Right now, you probably see the option, but it's grayed out because we don't have the data yet. So, okay, I'm gonna pick 6th grade 2025 ELA. You have 4 choices under the comparison group dropdown. By default, it's always city, and I'm gonna keep my as city for this presentation. If you are a school administrator, you should see all the official classes. If you are a teacher, you might only see the classes you teach, 1 or more, depends how many classes you teach. So going on, after you pick that, you can scroll down. The first visualization or the first section of this page is our task structure and definitions of standards section. This chart shows you the background information about the test. So it tells me for this particular exam, 2025 6th grade ELA, it tested 9 different standards under 4 anchor standards. So those are the 4 anchor standards. The exam had 32 questions. The exam was total 40 points. 1 box means 1 question worth 1 point. If I see 2 boxes linked together, here's a link, it means there's 1 question worth 2 points, etc. This is a 4 points worth question. If you hover over your mouse, the box should light up because this chart is interactive and you can click on it. If you click on any of the box, I'm using screenshot, but your chart should be clickable on your end. If you click on a box, more information will show up on the right hand. It tells you the standard that fall under a particular anchor standard, how many points worth for particular standard, and we actually give you a quick definition of standard 6R2, 6R3. So from here, I know for the anchor standard, reading key ideas and details, 17 questions were tested in the exam, worth a total 23 points, including 10 points under 6R2, 6R3 standard, and 13 points under 6R2 standard, and what this standards for. So this chart is really help you to get an overall background. What was the exam was testing, what standard it covered, what were those standard, which standard got tested the most, or which standard or anchor standard was the most points. When you looking at the students' performance data later on, if at any moment, right, you wish to say, okay, what is this standard again? You can always scroll up and remind yourself. Now let's move to the second section of this feature, which is the overall points earned. Again, for me, it's 6th grade ELA 2025. It tells me the average number of points my students earn, either all the students in your school or all the students in your class. Those charts are interactive as well. You can hover over a bar, you can click on bar, you can also add a subgroup to do comparison. By default, we show those average points grouped by all the test questions, grouped by all multiple choice questions, and or grouped by all the constructed response questions. When you hover over a bar, you will see explanation text right next to it to help you interpret what this data point is. In this case, my students on average earned 50%, 57% of the total points, which is roughly 23 points out of the 40 points. Compared to it's like slightly lower than the city average. And if I look at the multiple choice questions and the constructed response questions, the constructed response questions are like same as city average. Multiple choice questions are like slightly lower than city average. If I click on the bar, you will see a student list show up on the right-hand side. Those are all the students who included in this bar. So my 195 students who took the exam last year and the points they earned. You can sort the list by their name or sort the list by the points earned. All those dark, solid purple bar are clickable. Several things you could do from the student list. You can export the list as CSV if you just want a very quick snapshot who earned how many points. You could also open the list in other features in Insight to download more data along with those data points or check those students' attendance suspension information. You could do that in our school climate report feature as well. So that's how you could do like hover, click, generate student list from this chart. We also let you compare subgroup students' performance with all the students in the school. The way to do that is utilize our Add Subgroup button, this plus sign here. When you click on Add Subgroup, the default subgroup selection menu will show up. That's the menu you will see across all the Insight feature. So in Insight, whenever you see Add Subgroup button, sometimes above the visualization, sometimes below the visualization, you can click on it. You will see basically the same settings, same menu, 3-panel menu. The first part is the subgroup you want to pick. For this example, I pick students with IEPs, has more detailed granular subcategory under it. So I'm just gonna keep high level students with IEP. You could definitely click more recommended services, language of instructions, or you can combine different category. Like if you want to focus on your L students with IEP, you could go to L, pick students, current L, and students with IEP. After you selecting the subgroup you want to focus on, you click submit and a new bar will show up. A hashed purple bar showed up underneath the previous bar. That's the performance of your subgroup. So now you can compare how your students with IEPs did compared to all the students in the school for the 2025 sixth grade ELA exam. It also tells you how many students have IEP because sometimes uncount matters, right? Because we're showing you percentage. You could add many subgroups you want. For example, if I want to compare the performance among all my different racial groups, you add a subgroup for Asian, add a subgroup for Black, add a subgroup for your white students, add a subgroup for Hispanic and Latinx students. You could add multiple and you can compare among them or compare them with all the students in your school or in your class. So this is a subgroup comparison functionality under this raw points earned by your students. Next, visualization on the chart, performance by standard. So either you could either close this section or just scroll to the next section on your page. You will see points earned by standard or by question section. The first tab is performance by standard. Where to see the student list, click on those bar, which I'll show you again in this section as well. So I will talk about student list again. So this chart shows how many points your students earned by each anchor standard and a standard, or domain if you're looking at math data. So you can open this triangle menu. Right, it looks like this. If you click on this title or click on this menu, it will open the anchor standard reading key ideas and details. It will show up the two standards under this, 6R2, 6R3. And if the standard has both multiple choice questions and constructed response questions, we have separate them. So this bar tells me for all my students, they earned 55% of the total points under this anchor standard. Even more detailedly, for this 6R2, 64% about the multiple choice, they got 46% points right for the multiple choice, 64% of points right for the constructive response. And for 6R3, 49%-ish compared to my comparison group. Okay, so it pops up. So this is like, those are give me a list of all my students, right? Their points earned for the multiple choice questions under 6R2 standard, under the reading key ideas and details anchor standard. And this chart is actually telling me more. So it's basically telling me for this particular standard 6R2, there was 3 questions, question 5, 6, and 22 on the exam were testing this standard in the format of multiple choice question, which means each multiple choice was 1 question, 1 point. So if they got all 3 questions right, they will earn 3 points, which is 12% of my students, or 2 points, 1 point, or 0. This chart is also clickable. So if you move your mouse to any of the dark solid black bar and you click, the student list will get updated. Now I'm looking at the 34 students who got none of the 3 multiple choice question right in the exam. Right, you can see all the points earned is 0. You can sort again. So then you might want to focus on those students. They got all the questions wrong. They might need additional support, which means they probably have some trouble to really under this standard. You could export the list so you have their list handy, or you might focus on students who earned 0 point and 1 point and think about how you could better support them, better understanding this particular 6R2 standard under this anchor standard. So all those solid bars here are clickable. Citywide bar is not, because usually users don't have access to citywide names. So that's how this chart works. Again, we have an add subgroup button here. You could again add subgroups to compare their performance to the other students' performance for each standard or anchor standard breakdown by question type. I'm going to move to next chart, which is next to performance by standard. So it's a tab version. You don't scroll, you stay on this page, but move your mouse next to the performance by standard title and click on it. The performance by question visualization will show up. So the previous chart or visualization we were looking at, it grouped all the questions by standard and anchor standard. This new visualization we're looking at, it lists out all the questions. So you see a row of boxes. Each box is a question. By default, they organize by like question 1, question 2, question 3. We do have a link if you want to look at the real question side by side. You could click on the link. It will give you the PDF, the state published. So it saves you time to go to the state website, try to find out the released question the state has. If you hover over a box, right now in my screenshot, I'm hovering over this orange box, means my students did or performed the lower or below school average or below city average, sorry. In this case, that's why it's orange. It gives you several information. Which question is, this is question number 6. The question number 6 tested standard 6R2. It was a multiple choice question. If it's a construct response, it's gonna say CR. If it says MC, it means it's a multiple choice question. You could sort the question type. Again, by default, it ranked as question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, 4, 5, 6. You can order them by standard question type or how your students did on those questions. Those box is also clickable. So you can move over any box and click on it. When you click on it, more information will show up. Again, background information about this question, the question type, how many points it was, the standard it tested, how your students answer the question. In this example, right, my question number 8 is a multiple choice. So it not only tell you how many students selected the correct answer, which is answer B, it also tell you how many students select answer A, answer C, answer D. What we heard during user testing, the teacher was telling us, not only I want to know who didn't answer the question correct, I also want to know what other options they picked. It might be different in terms of how I want to support them, which part they were confused. And I think this is when, if you, for example, if you click on the PDF link, it will actually give you the question from the state. So you can actually scroll on the information and see, okay, what is question number 8? Can you guys see my screen? I just dragged a PDF. So you can open this. This is the PDF you will get if you click on the link. It helped me filter to the 6th grade ELA 2025, and you can scroll to the question number 8. So I say, okay, here's a question. Here's option ACD, how my students did. Did I move the slide? How my students did, etc. So that's why we have the PDF here, help you really dig into the question itself. This chart is also clickable. The way you click it is you move your mouse over any of the dark bar. And if you click, it will tell you who were the students select answer B. Or the students select answer C or answer D. Again, you can export the list or even create a custom group, which I will talk about in a little bit, to help you tier your support or really think about what support a certain group of students might need. Okay, before I go to export my data, I do want to mention this chart also, you can add subgroup. I know I don't have a screenshot because add a subgroup is basically everywhere, but the add a subgroup button is over here, the bottom of the chart. You see the plus sign, add a subgroup. So you can click and add a subgroup to compare your students' performance with your subgroup students' performance. Okay, I'm gonna pause. Let people ask question and explore the data a little bit. Again, here are some things you could try to answer while you're looking at a student's data. We talk about the both tab, performance by standard and performance by question. Okay, performance level. This is the, great, glad Lauren, you got it. This is the last visualization on this state test math ELA feature, which is performance proficiency. So this chart will be available probably after your students promote or graduated, because depends on when we got the data from the state. It gives you the performance level, obviously level 1, 2, 3, 4, compared to your comparison group. You can see the breakdown. It's clickable. You can click on the bar to get a list of students who fall under a certain level and then their particular proficiency rating. You could do several things from the list. You can click on more than one segment. You can also uncheck those boxes if you only focus on students level 1 or only focus on students level 2. You could do that as well. But you can click on multiple segments to generate a list, right? Maybe I want to focus on level 1 and 2 because those are the students, technically speaking, like non-proficient. Add a subgroup is here under the legend. So here's a plus sign, add a subgroup. I don't have a screenshot on this deck, but here's the menu or button. You can click to compare your students' performance with a particular or couple subgroups. So from here, you might notice if you are a teacher or principal or AP or data specialist, you should see custom group creator option here. If you are a district user or from superintendent's office or from the central DOE, you are not seeing this option. And I'm going to explain more. But before I Okay, I'm gonna basically move us away from the current 3 to 8 state test feature and share with you how you want to create a custom group. I think someone mentioned, right, we have this add subgroup menu, but what if the group I want to look at or I want to track are not one of the default group inside has? You can create a group yourself and use them as a subgroup. One way to do that, and there's multiple ways to do it, one way to do that is create a group from your right-hand student list. Again, that functionality is only available if you are a school user, like you only support one school, you're a teacher, you're a principal, you're an AP. If you're from district or central, that functionality is not applicable for you. So to do that, you have the list. Let's say I want to create a list of all the students who performed the level 1 and 2 in last year's ELA 6th grade ELA exam. I click on this 2 segment. Inside gives me a list, 94 students total, level 1 and 2. I'm going to click on the custom group creator button here, bottom of the student list. I click on it. It will bring me to this page. So I'm going to pause here to say a little bit more about for our district users and essential users. You have the ability to create groups of schools, but not the ability to create groups of students. That's why you don't see the customer group creator button in a student list. So you have access to the customer group creator in Insight. It just works differently. Instead of students, you can only create groups for schools. For this presentation, which I believe majority of you are school users, so I will focus on a school user use case. We do have video, as I mentioned, you can watch, or the functionality actually looks very similar. The page looks very similar. The only difference is, are you working with schools or working with students? So I just want to make sure I don't forget you. There's a video for you to look. I am going to focus on the students group in this demo particularly. So I click on the button from the list. It brings me here. It brings all the 93 students who took 2025 grade 6 ELA state tests, level 1 and 2. I'm going to give it a group title, typing in here ELA state test grade 6 2025. Level 1, level 2. In case I have too many groups, I put a description to put in more details. It's filtered by, it's of all the official classes, not a particular class. And then the 2 levels, it gives you a quick rundown who those students are, the grade level, IEP status, and out status. You can give your group a color coding. You don't have to. There's other functionalities, but if you are happy with your group, which means I'm good with the title, description, those are the students I want to have in my group, then you will click on this blue Save button. After you click Save, this group is saved in your custom group, and you will use it just like how you use subgroups in Insight. So we'll navigate back to the assessments. This is on the top of the Insight page navigation bar. We will go back to assessments, 3 to 8 state tests. Pick any chart that has add a subgroup. I'm using the performance by standard chart. So this is the chart we looked at before, anchor standard. Here is the add subgroup, but add a subgroup menu or button. So I'll click on it. You will see a custom groups option show up under your subgroup categories. So when you click here, those are all the groups you have. You can create as many as 50 groups total. So you will pick the group you want to focus on, click submit, just like how you use subgroup. Hash bar will show up. Now I'm comparing the students who were level 1 and level 2 in this particular exam compared to all the students took the exam last year. again, you can click on the light purple bar to generate more information, generate student list. I'm going to pause here. I saw 2 hands. I know I'm moving fast. So
whenever you manipulate in your subgroup, it only it'll save within your personal username.
yes, yes. I know like some people mentioned, can I share a group with my coworker? Maybe it's like the teachers in the same grade. Right now we cannot allow that due to confidentiality. I think there's a concern, legal concern. What if the group, because you could see like student have like ID, all those demographic information, which is PII, personally identifiable information. Due to those confidentiality concern right now, if you create a group, customer group, it stays with you. If you want people have the same group, one way you could do is export the list, and they can, which I'm going to show you very quick. Another way to use a customer group is people can copy paste in multiple OSIS number and create the group. So that's actually a really good segue. Let's say, Pamela, you have this group. You want other people to have the same group so you can discuss. You can export the list, share the list with them, make sure they have the access rights to those students. What people would do if they don't use the student list is you can go to the customer group creator directly. It lives under the tools section. You click customer group creator, you see a page like this. If you have any groups you created already, they will show up here. If you want to create a new custom group, you click on this button. When you click on create new customer group, you go to this page again. It's the same page we just saw, but because this time I'm creating from scratch, it's empty here. If you want to create the same group from your colleagues list, or your colleague want to create a group from your list, they could type in, but I think the more efficient way is you have a spreadsheet, just copy pasting, I don't know, 20, 30, or 50 OSIS number in it, and click the add multiple students button. The system will automatically pick up all the students' ID, and you will see their names open up here. If you don't have a spreadsheet or OSIS number handy, you could use a filter to fill down to focus on a particular group. Let's say my L students, my current L, or my emergent or entering L who with IP, like very specific group. Instead of I have to go to the add subgroup button and click multiple times every single time, let me create a particular group. You could do that as well. So you can manipulate different ways to make sure you have the students you want in this group. And then the steps would be the same as the one I shared previously. Give it a name, give the description one. If you like color coding, you can color code it. Then you click save. So after you save it, if you click back to all customer groups, the priority group 2526 will show up here. Right now my both of them are gray. If you gave them a different color, you can filter by color or filter by other methods when they modified, alphabetical, number of students in it, etc. Which like I no longer need that. You click the delete button here. If you want to remove certain student, add more, but let's say it's still priority group. It's just like the students in this priority group shifts. You click on the added button. The added button will bring you back to this editing page. So you can click to remove the student or add more. If you have a student that's not associated with you, I don't think it's gonna work. That's why I think if you either entered in a non-valid OSIS number or OSIS number that student, as mentioned, like not active anymore, when you click on add multiple students, it will actually tells you, for example, if I pasted 12 OSIS number, one of the is not like misspelled, not valid. Another one other number, the student graduated, no longer with me. we actually will give you a warning note saying only 10 out of the 12 students you pasted here got added, to help you just like double check to make sure you got all the information correct. Okay, I think I covered the customer group creator part. Next thing I want to mention is downloader. This is school downloader. It falls under tools. The name is very obvious. It allows you to download multiple data for students. So this is try to solve the issue people mention. I want to see the data together, but it requires me download different spreadsheet from different system. So we try to put as much available data together for you. But just to focus on the state test a little bit more, when you go to the downloader, you have a student list on your left side. And then you can search by particular student, or you can use the filter to narrow down the list of students you want to look at. Or you just download data for all the students in your school, which in my case is 659 students. When you create a customer group, you also have the customer groups option under the student filter. So let's say I want to focus on my priority group, school year 25-26. I check that box, 6 students under this group, and then I can go to the data available for download section to decide and pick the data points I want to look at. In this case, I will do test data 3 to 8 ELA. You could obviously look at math or science, regardless which grade you are teaching. If you should be able to see the science option here. So if you still don't see science in your downloader, you should let us know, and that's a bug. You can also download test data with attendance data, some demographic information, etc. After you finish selecting the data points, you will click the blue download CSV button, and that will give you the Excel file. I do want to mention, student level data is confidential. Our spreadsheet contains personal identifiable information. We highly recommend, or we advise you don't download those files on a public computer. Like, don't go to a public library and randomly download a student data and save in the computer. So we recommend you use DOE device or download it in a trusted device. Or if you download the file, make sure you delete it afterwards. So after you download the Excel file, you open up, this is what it's gonna look like. The first row tells you what the data you downloaded. I downloaded grades 3 to 8 state test data for my customer group, party group 25-26. We have several default columns, tell you the school year, the school DBN, their ID, name, race, gender, age, do they have IP, are they L, are they NYSA eligible, etc., housing status. So those are all default, regardless what data point you download, you should see those information of your students. When you scroll to the right, we gave you 3 years state test data. So for example, I select the ELA, and right now the data we have is from 2025. So I have 3 columns from 2025. It tells me what EL exam the student took in 2025. This student is in currently 7th grade. So they took 6th grade ELA in 2025. The scale score was 489. The proficiency rating was 4.25. Going back 1 year, 2024, they took 5th grade ELA, their scale score, proficiency rating, 1 more year, their performance in 2023. When you see empty, probably the student opt out. So the student didn't took any ELA state test in the past 3 years. So that's the data you will see when you download ELA exam data from the downloader. I definitely encourage you to try different data points or open all the options to see if certain data points you think will be helpful for your case.